tomorrow at.
All right, welcome everyone.
Day.
10.
Glad to have you all here. Let's start our meeting, 6:01. We got it recording, we're ready to go?
Yep.
Speak up, because the only speaker working is the one in front of Tasha. The other one's not working. So just be.
This is the two parcels that I'm talking about right here. This parcel right here is in Draper. This parcel and this parcel are in Alpine. As you can see, there's a little bitty gap right through there that we're trying to push back into these two parcels. So the history of this is Alpine did a annexation of this land back in 1855, so a long time ago. 2 mile by 2 mile square. About, it says that it starts about 1076 west of a section corner.
Did you say 1855?
Yes.
Okay.
That was 8 years after.
Right.
So the world, or the U.S. is split up into sections. I know you guys all know that. They're typically 1 mile by 1 mile. These ones are a little bit wider than 1 mile by 1 mile. So, and that wasn't determined until the year after. So the final initial survey of the PLSS, which is the public land system, was done a year after Alpine did their annexation. And it's a little bit wider than what the 2 mile by 2 mile. So this distance right here is about that 1076 at that top part. So when they did this parceling, yeah,
Rods and chains.
yeah. So when they did these parcels, they held that 1076 and came down and then went over and created this parcel. So the deed for this parcel and this parcel held that 1076, and it was actually over here on the west line of that little gap. When they did this plat in Alpine, because it's in Alpine, in 2017, actually before that, in 1950s, somewhere in that range, Draper says we're just going to annex to this Alpine city line. So the two lines by deed are the same, which lines up about right there if you hold that about 2 mile by 2 mile thing. If you hold the distance, it's the west line. So these deeds here for these two parcels are the same line. When they did this plat, Alpine City approved it with the line being over to the west edge. They actually marked the property corners on all three of these to that west line. So they're still there, still currently there. So those monuments are there. When it got to the county GIS said, hey, wait, you're overlapping the city line from this 1855 thing. And so they made them shorten their subdivision lines and created this gap piece there. Nobody owns it. Nobody's being taxed on it. Nothing.
Okay.
In reality, because those pins are there and that was originally there, the lot lines should go over. So what I'm suggesting here is to fix this ambiguity of where that city line is and shift it back to where the parcel lines and everybody's been using it for ever, right? So I'm just trying to fix a problem that occurred because of an apparent annexation thing back from 1855, a long time ago, right? So it is marked on the ground. If you want to go to the plat, the second one, the middle one.
Oh, Jake's got it.
So this is what I'm proposing. I'm also proposing this in Alpine as well, because both cities have to agree upon it. Both will have to eventually sign the plat, this annexation plat, say, yep, we're moving it there. We're, in effect, it's a triangle piece, so this is the south end. It's only 16, it's a little bit less than 17 feet wide that we're trying to put back into these parcels.
So north is now left on that slide.
That's
Yep.
north, yeah, sorry. Just fits better on the plat that way. So there's the found rebar. We found another rebar there that fits with that line of Draper where the old parcels went to. And that being said, I've also talked with a surveyor that is working with your city, Sunrise Engineering, Dale Robinson, and he agrees that this is where the line should be, the west line, as well, because that's where all the deeds say they're supposed to be.
So it's moving it to Alpine.
So we're moving it back to the deeded line before. So
Okay.
right now it's up here.
Right.
We're just moving it back to where the monumented line is.
Right, which would be within Alpine city limits?
So right now it's in Draper.
Right.
So the gray area is in Draper, according to that, because you just called to that line. That bound call says we're going to Alpine City, even though the deed actually called beats to the west line.
So it's
So that
moving
triangle
from
becomes
Draper
Alpine.
to
That triangle will
Alpine.
become
Correct.
Alpine
Yep.
officially. Once both cities
Are
agree
those-
to it, and this
Those monuments are the 1880 monuments?
No, these are from when,
Okay.
before this plat was done. So the surveyor surveyed the piece of land to create this plat, and it and this land were deeded, and that's where those deeds were.
Isn't Harley P. Pratt hammering monuments?
I was just gonna say, what did Brigham
So-
Young say?
No, they're not that old. They probably wouldn't exist anymore if they were. This one is.
Good rebar.
That one is from 1850
What does it look like?
something.
Oh.
It's a monument, so they're
Brass?
about 3-inch brass caps in concrete.
This the 1880?
Plus or minus, I don't know exactly what they were, but that's what they're representing is that 1856 time frame.
All right, so that's, council members, are you, what do you think about this
I'm sorry. Mayor.
discussion?
So the next step is to bring a resolution like we did with Highland, just a resolution of intent to adjust the common boundary. Once both cities have done that, then we can have a public hearing and
Anybody have any heartburn about doing that? It would appear not.
That's great.
I mean, what is it right now? Just open
It's
field?
vacant land,
Mhm.
both sides.
Yeah.
And there's actually a ravine on this side, on the Draper side, that makes no sense for Draper to go to get that little piece. Anyway.
Okay.
The Draper
Right.
parcel, the parcel.
Prepare the orders.
So will it just become part of those lots?
Yes.
Okay. Is that developed or it's going to be developed?
So there's a house on this piece, and that's the only one. There's a
Okay.
little access road that comes in and allows these guys to access it from Alpine.
Is
So
that
it'll
six-
just make those lots a little bit bigger.
It'll make them back to what their intended
Okay.
purpose was when they did the plat.
So there's no Alpine access to any Draper trails on that little
There's trails all over the place there that people walk over it. I don't know access. I mean, people walk over all of it, so they're trying to limit it as far as I know, but I don't know that.
All right, thank you, sir.
thank you.
Any questions?
No, we will proceed from our end then.
Okay, just let me know when you're ready and I'll keep going.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
get on my way. Okay, thanks, David.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next item is a need for a closed session.
For litigation.
Okay. So, we have a need to close our meeting for a litigation matter. I need a motion to close in a second.
So moved.
Motion by Tasha, second.
I'll second.
Second by Bryn. Any further discussion on this motion? All right, seeing none. Tasha, how do you vote?
Yes.
Bryn?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Fred?
yes.
All right, and I'll note that that's unanimous. We are absent Mr. Green, who is deployed.
was that?
It's just driving me nuts, that picture.
Or Marcia said it was by Zion's Main.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our city council meeting this evening. We apologize for getting started a little bit late. I would like to call our meeting to order. We're going to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by our finance director, Mr. John Vike. Go ahead, sir. I would like to note for the record that our council member, Mr. Green, is again deployed, and so we have a full council for this evening, minus Mr. Green, with 4 members. Our next item is an opportunity to hear from our newest elected representative for the city of Draper, Mr. Calvin Roberts. If you don't know, this is the beginning day of the legislative session, or as I like to call it, the dark times that are upon us. Whenever that legislature gets in session, crazy stuff happens. Calvin, come up and give us the report.
Wonderful opportunity to serve, and I certainly miss it. Let me talk, the big issue up there right now is cost of living. That is an issue you hear from constituents from all across the political spectrum. And so what you're going to see from the legislature is and it's an election year, so you're going to see a lot of attention on cost of living issues. One of those big issues on a lot of people's minds is the affordability of housing. Now, I have had the unique opportunity of being put and picked as the chair of the Commission on Housing Affordability. So I have that wonderful responsibility to sort of lead out in the housing policy space. I'll go through a few of the bills I'm working on that I think have relevance to you guys, and then I'd love to just hear your general thoughts. So number one, we're doing an housing infrastructure bill. One of the things up there, we have this constant fight, state versus local government. You know that. The state, the question is always, should the state preempt cities and their local land use authority? What we're trying to do is think about that problem differently. So instead of making it state versus city, we're trying to say, how can the state partner with cities to help unlock more housing supply? Housing prices are a problem, and we first have to concede to that. If you look at the rate of housing price growth in the state of Utah over the last 40 years, it's 5.2% year over year. Wages is only 3.5%. So you don't need to have a math degree to know that wages are just not keeping up with housing growth. So what do? We try to figure out ways to get more supply online. As you know, through the good work via the league, there's a lot of units that are entitled, planned for, zoned in some manner throughout the state that currently aren't being built. I think the example you like to use, Mr. Mayor, is I think our TOD down there on West Draper, right? That unlimited height that doesn't get touched. One of the things we've looked at hard is how can the state partner with cities on strategic regional infrastructure with a nexus to housing? So instead of coming in and taking away local land use authority, can we look at providing a financing mechanism for cities, city-led, to help finance some of the big regional infrastructure? So I'll give you an example. There's a big project in West Jordan on the west side of the county. It's couple thousand entitled units. They have a development agreement in place, multiple developers. But the issue is they've got 2 water treatment facilities, water tanks, 25 million a pop. And so the developer will come and say, look, you know, our subdivision is just going to use part of that. We can't afford and make the math work to pay for that big piece of infrastructure. City doesn't have the room in their budget to do it. And so you've got this planned housing that's not being built because of the lack of the regional infrastructure investment. So we're working really hard on a bill that would make available basically a fund to cities to come and to submit applications. It'll be below market interest rates. You can pick how you securitize the actual loan, so you can come with either increments or impact fees or an assessment, however you want to do it, but it basically provides cheaper financing to cities with that regional infrastructure support. So that's one big bill I'm running and focusing on the housing side. There's another one which is around state land. So we've got a lot of state land. There's 300 acres in Salt Lake County right now, developable land that UDOT owns. And the question is, how can the state take that land and ultimately entitle it to be more pro-housing? And so we're putting together a process by which the state would work closely with local government in entitling that state land and ultimately making it available to the private market and then to be developed. What else am I working on? Gas tax reduction. You can blame this on Greg Hughes. So Greg Hughes is friends with the Speaker, Mike Schultz. He has been on the gas tax for years. He talks about it constantly on his radio show. It's a big priority for Speaker Mike Schultz. I'm running that bill, and so am constantly in meetings with all the major oil and gas industry players because it's going to be revenue neutral to the transportation fund, but we're trying to drop the gas tax by 50%. We'll see. That's aggressive. So I'm doing a big economic development bill that will have some impact on cities. It's city initiated. It's a process outside of the normal CRA RDA process, but essentially it allows you to create regionally important zones, city-led, but you can drag school boards along with you, and that's the key value of these increment deals, and we can talk more detail about that if you're interested, but you'll see that one coming, especially in your role at the league. So anyways, I'm rambling. Anything on your mind? I should say, one more point. Infrastructure. I think $18 million, something like that, is what I've been told, is needed for this first phase of that backbone infrastructure. So I think we've got a clear path, I've told you this, Mr. Mayor, to put that infrastructure in one of these bills I'm doing. So I think there's support from Speaker, Senate President, and the bodies to actually have the state facilitate that financing. Now, it is just a loan, and it will be paid off by that first phase sale, but expect to see something like that in one of my bills. And then lastly, I'll say, I know that there's a lot of infrastructure needs here. Talk about the pipeline, the water line to Suncrest. I'm having a meeting with Greg Curtis tomorrow night and Senator Colomore, who's our senator, to talk about some of the infrastructure dollars available to Salt Lake County cities. And so I would love to have that conversation with you about what priorities there are for the city of Draper and to see if I can try to get that into a bill. So I'll stop there.
I got an issue. One of the things I want you to be aware of is there's all this talk about property tax and how we're going to deal with property tax. And I get it. I hate taxes as much as the next person. But the reality of how we fund local government is a blend of property tax, sales tax, and some other funds. One of the proposals is increasing the personal exemption, for example, on my residential property, moving it. Mike, what was the percentage? You probably know.
45 to 60% is the latest I've seen.
We've done the math just recently this evening. John, there you are. If that were to go into effect, just that policy change alone puts about a $1.6 million hole in our budget immediately. Now, contrary to what everyone might think, we don't have, extra money like that sitting around. I mean, I'm inviting you tomorrow to the State of the City, and you're welcome to bring Senator Cullimore along, and then we can have that meeting after if you want. But I'm going to talk about, those things that we do and what it costs. I think it's great to talk about lowering taxes, but please don't forget, and you know this because you've sat up here, if you do away with property tax or you change it somehow the resident saves $80, that translates across to less law enforcement, less parks, less everything. And maybe people are fine with that, but if we took a $1.6 million hit, in addition to the cost of asphalt, fuel, concrete, everything that we buy, you just start to see pretty soon cities are, I don't know, you live without a lot of municipal services. And maybe that's fine, but it needs to be considered when you're looking at all these ways to save money on property tax and those kind of things. Unless there's another way if we get more sales tax to offset it, maybe that's the way it happens. But just keep that in mind. It's legitimately something we would be in a bad situation over.
Oh, I fully understand it.
And then if you cap property tax at, say, a percentage, I don't know how that works. I mean, we've only done one property tax increase in 17 years. We tried one last year. It didn't work. But we haven't done a bunch. We've been able to manage our money and try our best with growth, sales tax growth, to not overburden our residents. But if you say it's 5%, that's all you can do. Every city in this state's going to do 5% every single year because inflation's 4%. I mean, we just think about that stuff from that perspective. I mean, I understand nobody likes paying them, but we get a lot for what we pay, our portion for Draper City. That's my 2 cents on that. So.
Yeah, look, if I can address that, totally with you. That particular bill, it would hold the revenue stream constant. It really would just shift the burden away from residential to commercial. It wouldn't have an impact on your overall property tax revenue. So you guys would, if we're talking about the same bill, you guys would be fine. Really what it would do is just say, you go to the assessor's office, they're valuing commercial at a much slower rate than they are valuing residential, and so it's shifted the burden onto residents. By increasing that exemption, it just shifts it back to commercial, which we're going to have a robust policy debate up there if that's what we want, because that's really what it is. It's going to hold revenue harmless for you guys. I just want to make sure you know that. And I think if it weren't, it certainly wouldn't get a yes vote from me, and I don't think it would get a yes vote from very many
So are
others.
you saying it would raise the commercial property tax? Is that what it would do?
Yeah, you get, whenever you get the assessor's office, they go do their valuation, you set the revenue, you do the truth in taxation. It's making the exemption larger on residential, so the taxable base of the primary residence is lower, and so therefore you're a smaller portion of the overall pie. It's really just, so what's happening is it's shifting it to the commercial. So if if you own a commercial building, your property taxes are going to be going up, even though rates didn't go up, while the residential guys goes down. But the overall revenue is neutral to the city.
Except for the fact that, traditional economic theory is you raise the price on the businesses, they're going to raise the price on their products, and maybe lay off some of their workers. I mean, I know we're in a whole new era of economics nationally than we were, say, in the Reagan years, but I don't know what the version we're in now is. But hopefully, you're smart. You've got a good handle on that kind of stuff. With respect to
Mayor, if I might, that's going to be the debate, is because it's easy to when I knocked on doors for this election, what people told me was property tax. I heard that all the time. So the state is feeling that, and that's what you're seeing a lot of legislators want to try to get into that space. I think there's going to be a lot of property tax bills that I'm not going to like, because they are going to try to do things that are going to make it harder for you to budget and plan and to ultimately fund city operations. But that particular bill that you're talking about, the residential exemption, it's just going to move it over to the commercial. Now, we'll have the debate up there if we think that's good policy, because you're right. If you're a commercial landowner, you're going to pay more, and you're probably just going to try to pass that cost on to your consumer. So.
And then on land use, just putting on our hats as council members and members of the league, as we over the years, and you've been part of this last session, and you know this as a council member, we have made we've agreed to all kinds of different lids, PIDs, DIDs, I can't even think of them all. Zoning code, we as a group of cities in the state, contrary to what we get talked about in the media a lot, where we're the sole problem. I mean, I've heard it said from the governor on down that the housing crisis is the fault of the city and our zoning authority. I mean, we know that's not true, but we also know that that resonates with the development community and everybody else that wants to hear that somebody to blame. It's easy to blame the cities, not interest rates, not all the things that it is, or the 138,000 entitled units that aren't being built with a housing crisis of 40,000 units. I just want to get that out there. That there's enough entitled units to fix the entire damn crisis if they just got built, but they're not. And that's still, yet we're still in a housing crisis caused by our land use authority. That's all I want you to keep in mind. Going forward.
Every night I go to sleep, I think about that, and
Keep some of those, all the programs we've tried to, there aren't even really fully working yet. Let's let those kind of go through before we create another program, I guess.
Yeah, and what I'd say is this. There was a quote today from Governor Cox, I think with KSL, where he said he does not think that the state should preempt local land authority. I know.
Did he hit his head?
Tune.
Because he said it 2 weeks ago that he did.
But here's the thing. I'll just to give you a sense for the politics up there. The House is very much not supportive of local land use preemption. I'm going to be presenting to my majority caucus on Friday on housing. I have a good feel for where people are at. There is no land use preemption that is just going to get through that body. Speaker Mike Schultz has talked about it. We're not going to do it. And so I think what you've seen, and this is, again, this whole last year I've spent trying to work on thinking about the problem differently. You're going to see housing solutions come out of the House of Representatives. It's trying to be more focused on infrastructure, things like that, to unlock those units that have been planned for. And I think the conversation is changing up there around the issue, and I think it's healthy because I think, to your point, Mayor, you can't put it all on the feet of cities because all you can do is zone and plan. And we've got a lot of zone for, plan, and entitled units. I gave you an example of West Jordan. There's 2,000 units, not just zone for, in a development agreement, like ready to go. Like you could move to permits pretty quickly. That's not being built. Why? Because of regional infrastructure gaps.
Well, we'll see if that really is. I mean, when you put your program up, we'll see if it takes up. Because I think it's a lot more than that. I think it's developer profit. It's not one to flood the market with too many. I think there's a lot of dynamics wanting to keep that price right where it's perfect. But I'm cynical today. Sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry, folks. But anyway, thanks, Calvin. Anybody else have any?
Just thank you, Cal, for your service, and we know that you'll represent Draper in the way that we need to be represented. So
thank you.
I'm excited to see how you do as the chair with housing affordability. That's a big nugget.
I think that's wonderful, the message of not preempting local land authority, and if we can extend that to local taxing authority. I think it's the same principle that the state shouldn't be limiting, what increase we can make over a year. I think the mayor said it perfectly when he said we haven't raised taxes here in 17 years, and so if we are limited to 4% each year or something like that, then you're going to see those incremental, so many more tax increases, I fear. And as someone who doesn't want to see those tax increases, I think that that's bad policy.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you. And I would say, in terms of the infrastructure needs, let me know on key projects because there is, you go look at state code and it's a labyrinth on how infrastructure funding happens. And you guys actually have a great lobbyist who's probably the best up there at it. I've spent a lot of time with him trying to understand how to finance those projects. I think I've got a pretty good feel for it. And so, we're going to have meetings over the next couple of weeks about infrastructure, which cities, which projects. And I think I would welcome a list from you guys if there's ideas, and I can try to go push for it.
As we talk about this, it brings to mind the station area plans, which I know you had some passionate feelings about. And our most recent one has been the Kimball Lane project. And that one is going to have some pretty severe infrastructure needs as we look at rerouting one of those roads. It would be nice to have some funding for that, for safety.
I'm so glad you brought that up. So as part of this bill, this infrastructure bill I'm talking to you about, it's mostly focused on greenfield development. But I'm working closely with Andrew Gruber on can we make some of that money available to support station area planned infrastructure? And so maybe there's a way we can do that. In fact, I've got a couple emails from him with some ideas trying to work themselves into the bill. But I'd love to work with you on that.
Well, I think it's
continue
really
the
critical
conversation.
because we didn't have a lot of choice on those station area plans, and we were forced to entitle density that we would not have entitled given our druthers. But the infrastructure surrounding these station area plans has got to be redone, and where is that money going to come from?
I think it's a fair point.
Well, Calvin, thanks for coming. Even though I'm beating up on you a little, I want everyone to know, especially, and Calvin knows this.
You're not beating up on me. You're being soft.
We're lucky. Calvin, how well you know him or not, he's kind of a rising voice in the legislature. Calvin's smart. He understands local government. He understands our needs. If it's the dark times, I'm expecting Calvin to be Gandalf, leading us through the cave with the light on the step. He's gonna make sure the light can get through the cave. But no, we are fortunate and well represented. I can tell you that every time I needed Calvin last year in any capacity or any issue, he was there. He's a quick study. It doesn't take a lot to explain it to him. And I'm not like everyone, he gets it quick and then he's able to articulate it. And they have a ton of trust and faith in him because he is smart and a hard worker and can grasp complex problems and looks for solutions. So I appreciate all you're doing because I think you are headed down the right track. Despite my cynicism with it, I do always get cynical this time of year.
Oh, we need more cynicism sometimes in our politics. No, I appreciate it, Mr. Mayor, and it's an honor to serve you and the residents here of Draper. And I would just say on these key city issues, you can call me. You've got my phone number. We talk frequently, but I care about representing your interests up at the state capitol.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And we appreciate and note that you are our only representative yet to come and talk to us. So you get the gold star for sure. So thank you. All right, the next item on our agenda is item number 4. It's an opportunity for general public comment. We have, looks like 2 public hearings. If you're here for those public hearings and you're going to comment, we ask that you wait until they're called so we can keep our record clear. But if you have a general public comment, would like to make some comment for the council to hear, this is the opportunity. Is there anybody here that would like to make a general public comment? All right, Reed, before you get up here, you know the drill, but anyone else, come on up. When Reed starts talking, after Reed tells me his name and address, that's when the clock over there is going to start, our 3-minute clock. I will add that the legislature only gives you 1 minute, but we do 3 because, we're all about extra time. But once Reed says his name and address, the clock starts. Everyone gets 3 minutes. You don't have to use them all. You really don't, but you can. But at the end of 3 minutes, your term's up. Just give the council comments, and they will listen to you, and they might address it later after the comment to maybe answer some questions. Go ahead, Mr. Gibby, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and council members. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. A number of you I know quite well. Some of you are relatively new, and so I don't. I meant to get here for your swearing in, but I missed that. When we moved to Alaska in the mid-'70s, the interest rates were starting to go up on homes, and we bought a new home that had a 9% mortgage rate, but the state had a program that if your income wasn't above a certain level, which mine qualified for, we got a 7%. And I don't know if something like that might help in Utah or not, but it helped us. While we're up there, came back in '84, interest rates were up close to 20%. Our home in Chico, California had a variable rate. It was 15% with a low of 12 and a high of 18. After 2 years, we refinanced because we could get a lot lower. Anyway, already used up too much time. Anyway, I want to chat a little bit about this evil carbon dioxide. And that seems to be a boogeyman. But I want to mention to you how effective it is in changing the temperature of the atmosphere. Sometimes we get the impression from certain sources that it is exponential. It goes up like that. Some people think it might be linear, but what it really is logarithmic, which means it starts out steeper and tapers off. I'm going to send you an email, but this is a graph that kind of represents that. With 100 parts per million, it has very effective change on the temperature. But as it increases, up here around 420, it doesn't change the atmospheric pressure, temperature that much. And so there's a lot of hysteria about it with a lot of ignorance. And I find it hard to believe that some of our experts, so-called, in Washington, D.C., don't really know that. But it is ignored. I prefer to use the, oh my goodness, time's almost up. Well, anyway, I guess I better sit down. Anyway, I will send you an email to share more information about how undangerous CO2 is.
Thank you. Anyone else like to make a general point? Come on up, give us your name and address.
I have copies for everybody, but I sent emails too last month.
If you have something to give, just give it to the city
Okay,
recorder, and
sure.
she can hand it down.
That'd be great. I'll give you a copy. I'm here to request infrastructure completement.
Just give us your name and address. That starts the clock, so go ahead.
Kimber Tunbridge, 11853 South, 700 East.
Go ahead.
So that address is between two businesses on the east side of 7th, right across from the track station. And I've got the infrastructure for the sidewalk, curb and gutter was never completed. Both sides with the new businesses were completed, but mine was left out. And at the time, there was a big utility pole in the way. That's recently been moved. I don't know when it was moved, but it's gone out of the way now. So I'm asking that we get that infrastructure completed. It's a matter of safety. It's a matter of flooding in my property. Let's see, I've got some pictures of the flooding. Here's one picture that shows after a rainstorm what it looks like in front of my driveway. I don't know why it was left out, like it was never completed. It was completed on both sides of my driveway. And when my husband was alive, over 2 years ago, he tried to get it resolved, but it never came to any resolution. And I think pretty much, if you have any questions, I can answer, but this goes into a lot more detail. Basically, just asking for that. And also wanted to mention, it's funny that I got an email response today from Bryn Heather Johnson. I don't know who that is, but does that sound like anybody here? Oh, that's you? Great, yeah, just basically saying that it doesn't cover that portion of the street. The city isn't in charge of that portion of the highway. So is that actually what the deal is? That it says, I'm not sure if anyone else has reached out to you, but that portion of 700 East is managed by the state, so the city can't make any improvements.
Yeah, go ahead with your comment. We don't do question and answer.
Yeah,
That's not how we do it. So
basically, I've got 37 seconds. We'll say absence of a sidewalk along the stretch of road forces pedestrians, particularly children walking to and from school directly into the street, creates an extremely dangerous situation as vehicles often travel at high speeds, putting lives at risk. The installation of a sidewalk is not a matter of convenience, it's a vital safety measure. Also, the lack of curb and gutter have serious storm runoff issues. During rain events, water impeded into my driveway.
Thank you. We've got your, and we'll get somebody to get back with you and give you an
Thank
answer.
you.
Okay?
All
Thank
right,
you.
thank you, everyone.
Is there anyone else like to make a general public comment? All right, seeing no further public comment, we'll close the public comment period. Move to item number 5. Item number 5A is approval of the January 6th January 6, 2026 City Council meeting minutes. Item 5B is approval of Resolution 2605, a resolution reappointing Karina Pace as a member of the Draper City Historic Preservation Commission. Item 5C is approval of Resolution 2606. It's a resolution of Draper City Council disposing of property seized as evidence in accordance with the Utah Code 77-11A-402. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Our motion by Ms. Lowry to approve the consent calendars 5A through C. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Johnson, right? Okay. All right, any further discussion on the consent items? All right, hearing none. Ms. Lowry, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Lowry?
Yes.
And Catherine, Ms. Dahl? All right, that's 4-0, passes unanimously. Takes us to item number 6. 6A is items for council consideration. Item 6A is a public hearing. It's regarding the providing of local consent for a single event permit for CRUE Group LLC, DBA Utah Premier Events. And we'll have Travis present to us tonight. Go ahead, sir.
Okey-doke. So, single event permit, what it allows is for the storage, sale, and consumption of alcohol for a limited duration up to 120 hours. And this event is being held at the Ballard event space on the 4th floor of this building at 14658 South Bangor Parkway. The event name is called Galentine's Event, and it's going to be on February 12th, 13th, and 14th of this year from 5 to 11 p.m. each day, so for a total of 18 hours. Qualifications, there's some limitations on how many single event permits someone could get per year, but this is the first permit that this applicant is applying for within 2026, so they meet that qualification. And the action here is to provide or deny local consent. And of note, our code says we can't put any limitations on the number of single event permits we can grant.
Any questions for Travis? All right, is the applicant here? Is the applicant here? Do you want to address the council? You can if you want. You don't have to. All right, very well. All right, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address the council on item 6A, providing local consent for single event permit for CRUE Group LLC? All right, seeing no public comment, we'll close the public comment period, bring it back to the council.
So Travis, the single event permit is good for all 3 dates? Okay. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve item 6A.
All right, I have a motion by Tasha to approve item 6A. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Fred. Is there any further discussion? All right, seeing none. Tasha, how do you vote?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Bryn?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
Items approved unanimously 4-0. Item 6B is also a public hearing, providing local consent for a full-service restaurant license for Star Group LLC, DBA Desi Kitchen. Go ahead, Travis.
All right, it's for a full-service restaurant license. Here's the location at 153 West 123rd South, Suite 7, a new Indian restaurant. So a full-service restaurant license allows restaurants to store, sell, and serve all kinds of alcoholic beverages alongside a food purchase. And here are the standards that the restaurant must meet. It has to be 300 feet away, measured by shortest pedestrian route from the nearest community location, and it has to be at least 200 feet away, measured by a straight line from the entrance to the community location. Those are schools, churches, public playgrounds, public libraries, and I said public playgrounds and parks. Okay, here's the 300-foot distance requirement. They are about 1,500 feet away from the nearest church there, so they meet that requirement. And the straight line requirement, you can see there's no community location close to that, so they also meet that requirement. And the action is to provide local consent or deny, and our code says we cannot put any limitation on the number of full-service alcohol licenses we could provide by the city. The end.
All right, any questions for Travis? All right, thank you, Travis. Is the applicant here and want to address the council? All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the council with the proviso that it was excellent food at that restaurant the other day, I have to say. It was good. Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve item 6B.
All right, motion by Ms. Johnson to approve consent item 6B, the providing local consent for full-service restaurants to Star Group LLC, DBA Desi Kitchen. Is there a second?
I'll second.
That was Catherine. Excellent. All right, we have a second by Catherine. Is there any further discussion? All right, seeing none. Bryn, how do you vote?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
Tasha?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Items approved unanimously 4-0. That takes us to item 6C. This is an action item. It's ordinance 1697. It's an ordinance amending the official zoning map of Draper City for approximately 1.04 acres of property from RA1 residential agricultural to R3 single-family residential. It's located at approximately 283 East Tanger Lane, known as the Butler zoning map amendment. We'll have a staff report by Paul. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. So we have the Butler zoning map amendment. As discussed, we are right off of 3rd East and Tanninger, just north of Browns Pond. Going in for a closer aerial, we can see there we are that corner lot. Land use, we are currently zoned residential medium density, which supports RE2, R3, R4, R4, and MPC. There we see we are zoned RA1 with R3 to the east, RA2 to the south, RA1 and R3 to the north. Going into, apologies, staff analysis. Last time when our continuance was decided, there was questions about the access. And so planning staff did a feasibility study and determined that there were multiple potential configurations where up to 3 compliant lots would be able to be created, each with sufficient square footage and access for all 3 coming off of Tanager Lane, with 3rd East being a major collector street. Applicants have indicated that if the zoning amendment is approved, they will then work with engineers to design a configuration that will meet city code and submit a subdivision application for city review. And we have our site photos and any questions. The applicant and her father, the property owner, are here for questions as well.
All right, council members.
I appreciate staff coming back with clarification on all of that. That was very helpful.
Can we see, is it possible to see like the zoning map a little bit farther out?
We do not have that. Is that something that Jake could pull up, or? Oh, zoning map.
Sorry.
Yeah, you have to go to the website.
I looked at side. Oh.
Here, I can get it there, Jake.
That's great.
I think it's interesting. There is quite a bit of the R3 around that area. That's what I thought was harder to tell when it was closer.
Action.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I'd make a motion that we approve ordinance 1697.
Motion by Mr. Lowry to approve ordinance 1697.
I'll second.
Ms. Dowell?
That was me.
Dowlen, right, Dowlen.
Yeah, Dolan.
Dowlen.
Yep.
Yeah,
Like Darlin, but without the R.
yes. My brain went into a minute of, I know where you, anyway. Ms. Dowlen seconded this motion. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Fred, how do you vote?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
Tasha?
Yes.
Bryn?
Yes.
Item passes unanimously 4-0. That takes us to item 7, unless there are council manager items that anyone wants to bring up. And Kelly, you're first.
Okay, Jake's going to pull up a map. So we're gearing up for the farmers market food truck, and the vendor that we've used for the last 2 years has requested to no longer do it at Smithfield's Park because their vendors and the produce vendors didn't think that they did well enough, so they're not signing up again. So if we want to use the same vendor, they've done a good job for us the last 2 years, but they are requesting to move to Draper Park. They think they do other markets in like Orem Park, Provo Park, and they think that they need kind of the big city park to do well at the farmers market. So this is kind of the way they were thinking. I mean, this is just a draft. We can move them around. We've checked with parks. T-ball could be in effect on Tuesday nights, but they won't take over the ball field. So we don't think that'll be a problem. The only problem is just going to be increased traffic to Draper Park.
So what night?
It'd be Tuesday night still.
Yeah, I wish we could do like a Monday night or a
And
Thursday night, or stay away from our
I know.
meetings.
Right. So we just wanted to see what you thought about that, if it's even an option worth researching, or do we want to look at a different vendor and keep it at Smithfield's? We opened the splash pad last year. We thought that would be enough, but she said they still didn't do well enough to do it again there.
Wasn't the original concern parking?
Yeah.
And do we feel like parking is sufficient now with that addition of the rear lot? Would it help?
I think it definitely helps, but you know, with the playground, any given day, parking is busy there. So they may try to park along 13th East, and I don't know if that may be a problem for police, but it definitely is a little more congested. But that's what they're looking for, is a busier park.
Is there a way to move it up over where we could utilize the parking that's over by the day barn?
So the T-ball does use those diamonds over there.
Okay, got it.
At our T-ball program, if we keep it at Draper, which is what it's currently open for, it's where we've had it for the last few years. Like, just for info, there was 24 different T-ball teams that play there on a Tuesday night, so it uses all 4 of the diamonds. So it will be busy for sure.
T-ball kids coming to my house asking for more teams.
I didn't send them.
And we probably don't, I mean, we don't need to decide tonight, but if we need to start looking for another vendor, we probably need to.
I would like to see us try it at Draper Park. I'm curious, though, what Chief Ferguson, from a traffic standpoint.
Whatever you decide, we will accommodate as best we can. I think it'll congest it. I mean, there's no doubt, but it's your decision.
I went to at Smithfield's a couple of times this last year, and every time I went, the parking lot was packed. So I couldn't park at Smithfields. I would park over close on the other side and would often look around for parking for quite some time. So I do think that that is an issue, but I also participate in T-ball on Tuesday night at Draper Park, and I'm not sure. I think that could be hard to get all those people in cars. And I don't know if it's legal, and maybe Chief Ferguson can tell us, but when there's stuff at Draper Park, we often park on 13th East, and I would assume you would see a lot of that happening if we did have, or at least some of that happening if we did have both T-ball and farmers market.
My concern is that we already have such significant traffic on 13th at this commuting time.
Yeah, it's 5 to 9. And if they did it there, they would have to wait till Draper Days is over. So it wouldn't start till end of July. So it would shorten it a little bit, which they're okay with because they think the produce comes on later anyway.
Well, when does T-ball run?
It starts first part of June, and it's usually over first week of August, somewhere.
So we maybe only overlap for a few weeks.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's we're going 8 weeks, so
So it might not be a problem
Maybe
for
we
more
don't
than a
run
week
the
or
week
two.
of Draper Days, obviously, so I think there's 1 to 2 weeks after Draper Days is all.
Kelly, are all these little white squares the potential for the vendors?
Those are their potential tents, and then the green circles are the food trucks.
So yeah, that seems to me like there'd be potential for having more vendors there, but then also where are all those vendors parking?
Yeah, right. We would have to, I'm sure they would have to, make them park over at the, I don't know, library, senior center or something, but then the library is still open, so parking is a problem.
Something to consider, and Scott, maybe you can help me with this. Is there a bike lane on 13th now? Okay, because new state law, we can't impede that, so.
Both the directions.
Okay, and then the roundabout is always a problem for us as far as congestion goes, so something to consider too.
I think this is a great location, right? Like, if it had all the parking in the world and no traffic concerns, of course we'd want it to be here. This is our main, biggest, most beautiful park. But we are tied by those constraints.
Tasha, do you think it's possible, we have our open field that we talked about trying to convert for parking for Draper Days and stuff? Is there a way we could push that where we could create parking in that field right now if we could get some road base?
We've looked into it every year for Draper Days, and we always want to try to use it. It's more expensive than you would expect to get the road base down. I think wasn't it about 80,000 or something? It was a lot to try to do a temporary parking.
Could add parking somewhere.
I think people are going to get really upset if we add congestion to 13th during rush hour traffic.
Okay.
It's a mess.
And that park is so well used. I have a slide for tomorrow to show you just exactly how well used. It might just overwhelm everyone to where they really hate it. It might be worse. Maybe there's another vendor that'll do it at Smithfield. We can find somebody else.
I mean, we spent all that money on that awning up for the equestrian center.
I know, yeah. That was a different vendor. So we've gone through 2 different vendors. The second vendor said they wouldn't do it up there because they want like grass and trees and more of a park setting.
What about the historic park?
That parking is an issue as well. We tried to have them look at Galena, and they didn't think Galena was a good option.
Yeah.
So we can go back to the drawing board. We may lose them, but yeah, we can look around for somebody new if we do, if we want to keep with Smithfields. So.
Let's think about it a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
I know. Kelly, could they do it a Saturday morning or something?
You know, we we could look into that. I don't know what sports are like Saturday morning or if they're free, but we could look at the switching around if we want to move it there to a different
I
time.
think this is a great location, and on a Saturday morning, you wouldn't have all that competing traffic.
Commuter traffic. What's your Saturday mornings like?
It's mostly just practices, not many games, just practices in the morning, but we could work around that too.
I think people might
It's
like
far
a
less
Saturday
busy.
morning farmer's market.
Didn't we used to do that at the arena? Did we do Saturday mornings?
I think we did do Saturday.
Yeah,
Until
did
we
it for
combined
a
with
few
food
times.
trucks,
Yeah, we
right?
did it a few times Saturday morning.
There's also a Monday night at the arena.
Okay,
I
we
would
can,
ask them about Saturday mornings.
okay, we'll go back to them, see if they're free then.
Yeah.
If not, if we do it at the park, I bet we could find a different vendor for sure.
So are you saying, Tasha, if we did it Saturday morning, the traffic wouldn't be as bad?
Right, there's
because
no
of-
traffic on Saturday mornings because people aren't trying to get to and from work.
Might be more attractive for people to come too.
Right, I'd be more likely to go on a Saturday morning.
Does it work for the food trucks Saturday morning, or would we
I'm
split
sure
them?
it does. I'm
Or
sure it does.
Yeah.
You
would
could do like 10 to 1 or something,
So we
right?
could get the lunch.
Yeah, do
crowd.
lunch.
We just got to see if this vendor's not committed already somewhere else on Saturday
But
morning.
maybe we could even find a different vendor to do Saturday mornings. I'm sure people would like to do Draper Park.
Okay, yeah, we'll look into that.
I think that's more attractive than Tuesday night, Saturday morning.
People are so tired on Tuesday nights. I'm so tired on Tuesday nights, guys.
Especially at the council meeting.
Thanks, Kelly, though, for working on that. I think we've got to find a location because we got to keep it going.
Anyone else have an item they want to bring up? Fred? Tasha? Catherine? Anyone else? Chief? Good? All right, well, then I'll entertain the motion of the night to adjourn.
So moved.
All right. Motion by Tasha, second? Second by Catherine?
No, it was motion by Bren,
Motion by Bren, second by Tasha. All in favor of adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? All right, we stand adjourned.